Yo, call me a senior though. I'm gonna show you my citizen and ship you to hell. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about something that I didn't think we were gonna actually be talking about for a long time, and that is remakes. Sonic remakes that are possibly inbound. Now I'm gonna get right into it, but of course make sure you subscribe to your boy and let me know all your thoughts on all this we're about to talk about. Now to preface this comes way of Zippo. Now normally I would not give this any attention because typically Zippo is not usually on the nose. I don't want to say he's always wrong, but typically he's on the nose. But a few exterior factors have come out the woodworks to sort of help confirm this statement. So we're gonna go ahead and read it, talk about it and all that. So Zippo says, salutations and hello there. I'm back with another scoop. Oh boy, Sega's having quite a year, aren't they? With the excellent Persona 3 Reload, like a giant infinite wealth, both critically acclaimed and huge hits. There's even more to come this year with a brand new Super Monkey Ball game hitting in June, and also a smorgasbord of new Sonic content on the horizon, ending with the release of the Sonic the Movie 3 later this December. Not gonna lie, this is pretty exciting. One of the core reasons being cited for this huge surge of success is Epic's omnipotent Unreal Engine. It's had a long history with powering some of the most popular game series on Earth, and that's not stopping anytime soon. With Japanese companies such as Square, Bandai, and even Nintendo now joining the fray, one of these companies has been slow to adapt the engine is Sega. These days are clearly over. Here are some more games you can expect to see using these in the future. In case it wasn't obvious already by the post from last year, everything in bold information has been told to me is not speculation. So we got the Jet Set game in there. We have Persona 6, which is apparently going to be an Unreal, and of course our boy Sonic. Now obviously you would think, why is this weird if the others are switching to it but Sonic isn't? Well, Sonic is known to be using the Hedgehog engine. For those of you that don't know what that is, basically a Hedgehog engine is an in-house engine that Sonic team created for the character. Now this is really common practice for a lot of big developers. They'll sometimes make their own engines. That way they have their own unique assets and physics and everything they built from the ground up themselves, because they don't necessarily want to use the tools from other engines, and also they have to pay those other engines to use them. So I have this on very much on record that Sonic team are leaving Hedgehog Engine 2 behind and will be gradually going to Unreal Engine within the next few years. In fact, a full-on Unreal Engine 5 powered remake of a big important seminal 3D Sonic game has entered production at Sonic team recently, and I guarantee it's gonna turn this fan base up and down and all around, which I'm pretty sure is a Sonic Adventure track. Is it Sonic Adventure 1 or 2? It is indeed Sonic Adventure 1. So I won't be revealing the game today, but I will soon. Please forgive me. I will narrow it down so your speculation is made easier, though. It's one of these legendary titles. So we've got Sonic Adventure 1. Who boy, this one would make people lose their fucking minds. A Sonic Adventure 2. Enthusiasm for this one would be SA1 times 5. Can't say I would be too excited personally, though, which is crazy. Sonic Heroes, really? I'm sure some people are asking, but Heroes has a lot of untapped potential. I've always felt this way. 06. Oh dear God, what a fucking day the internet would be if this is the one they're remaking. I would love to live in that universe so bad. So would I. And Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, I can't say for sure for Unleashed myself, but once again, I need to live in the universe to see this. People want this bad. So there you go. It's gonna be one of these 5. Now he's also saying that he's gonna reveal it soon, which I don't know why not reveal it right away. But the big thing that people have been latching onto here is the first letter of each sentence here. So you have the capital H, capital E, capital R, capital O, capital E, capital S, which spells out Heroes. Leaving the speculation to be that the first major project that Sonic Team is going to have on Unreal Engine is going to be a remake of Sonic Heroes. And like I said, this is Zippo, who has been wrong a bunch of times, but has gotten some stuff right. But again, I would not have paid attention to it if it wasn't for this one thing. And the one thing here being Midori. Now, for those of you that have not been keeping up with Midori, they are essentially the Sega mega leaker right now. They have gotten everything right. They have talked about Persona 3 Reload before it's been announced. They talked about the Sega revivals before being announced. They've talked about the Sega mobile games. Like this is a dude that either is working at Sega or is talking at someone who directly knows everything about Sega, because everything they have said has 100% been accurate. And the fact that they commented on this tells me that this is 100% real. So let's talk about what they say. So they said this is almost correct information. Sega Group wants to move most franchises to Unreal Engine 5, but other engines will still be used on a case-by-case basis. The upcoming Sega IP remakes will be an Unreal Engine 5, including Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. Now, obviously, if you guys remember, at Game Awards last year, they announced a bunch of games that they were doing Sega IP/revivals of. We still don't really understand what this initiative is. Is it like purely Dreamcast or old school games? Is Sonic included in this? Is this just remakes, or is it going to be new games? I don't know. We know some details. That's basically just to revive and have a bunch of their stuff. but it is very much possible that we could see Sonic here. And obviously, my thing was to reply saying, do you think Sonic games will be moved to UE or any plans to, or is it just those revivals? And my boy Nathan pulled up saying, I could actually see Sonic get moved to Unreal Engine 4 or 5 since SMT and Persona just recently made the jump, and since these games are too. We have one more by Midori here saying, Sega wants to test the franchises, including Sonic, on Unreal Engine 5, but Sega engines such as Dragon Engine and Hedgehog Engine 2 will still be used in future development. Then someone else asked him, do you know why Sonic Team is using Unreal 4 instead of Hedgehog Engine? The Sonic Team plan to abandon Hedgehog Engine, and then Midori said Sega Group wants to develop developers to gain experience with different engines. And the final confirmation we have by Midori here is this is correct information, but there is not Sonic Adventure remakes right now. Also, this popped up while I was editing the video. One more thing that Midori has stated here is that the Sonic Heroes remake is being considered, but I do not think the original source is correct about it being released in 2026 or 2027. Not to say that it means it's going to be releasing next year, but I think they're just saying that we don't know the date. Like, we don't know if it is next year, in 2 years, 3 or 4. So just want to throw that in there. So let's talk about this a little bit. Of all the games back then getting a remake, Sonic Heroes being the likely one makes a lot more sense than you would think, right? Let's talk about this. Obviously, Adventure 1 and 2 seem like technically the most obvious. They're the most popular ones. They're the ones people love the most. But you really got to look at Heroes and understand something. For the longest time, that was the best selling 3D Sonic game. I believe it sold between 4 to 5 million copies for a 3D game. That was massive. And keep in mind, that was the first multi-platform 3D Sonic game back in the day, which is why it sold so much. I mean, we're talking about a game that was available on PS2. It was available on GameCube. I'm pretty sure it was on original Xbox. I could be wrong. And it was on PC. It was a big deal that Sonic was going multi-plat, and the game was available on as many places as possible. So to see that game be the one to get the remake makes sense on a popularity standpoint. It also makes sense on a gameplay standpoint. I feel like it's the one that I think needs it more than Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Now, obviously, Adventure 1 and 2, like I said, are more beloved, but Heroes, you guys know me. I played it recently. I think a lot of you know the game doesn't age the best, right? It does a good job of representing all the characters. It has beautiful aesthetics and gameplay areas, you know, the styles of levels and aesthetic and music, right? But it needs more polish, right? Some of the levels, you know, like the Grind Rail Canyon or some of the forest areas where you're just swinging on vines over and over. Like there's parts of that game that don't age well. Some of the weird difficulty spikes with the different characters. So I think of all the games to get a remake, this one makes the most sense because one, right, you get a game that represents a ton of Sonic's characters, right? Two, you get to remake those cutscenes that just look awful. Like, if really, let's think about it. I mean, the cutscenes in Heroes look genuinely terrifying, as opposed to 1 and 2, which are, you know, just using the in-game cutscenes most of the time. So you could be able to fix that. You can give it the game a new coat of paint, and just, I feel like a Heroes remake would be so crazy, and I think the success of Heroes would obviously then lead itself to Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I also think there's such a good chance to do additive content to the game. I mean, think about how many new characters we've gotten since the Heroes days. I would love if they did a Team Silver, Blaze, and maybe, you know, a surprise character, maybe a Surge or a Tangle in there. Like, it's just an extra team in there would be fire. Revamp of the missions, because obviously a big flaw with Heroes is the fact that you got to play the entire game 4 times for the true ending. So find some way to mitigate that. Maybe find some way to introduce the characters to intertwine more in the narrative. Have, you know, teams switch out whenever. I don't know how you handle Heroes because of just how many times you got to redo these things. You just allow it to be as it is. I would love at this point if it was extremely different. You know, make it so that, hey, there's a unified story. Maybe you go through all those levels, but you have maybe different challenge rooms for the other characters. But I feel like having one set campaign for the most part, with the characters interacting, doing different levels, instead of everybody doing the same levels, would make a lot more sense. And I know a lot of people are probably asking, yeah, but why would they use it on Unreal Engine and not Hedgehog Engine? Well, here's the thing, right? I feel like right now Hedgehog Engine is being honed in, and the developers are really learning how to meticulously make the game around the more open zone Sonic Frontiers style gameplay. Whereas I think when it comes to a game like Heroes, the gameplay is completely different. different. Not saying that they couldn't adapt to it, or that, you know, the gameplay from Frontiers wouldn't be able to be used in that game, but I think having an old game with those physics and those types of movement options and everything makes more sense to go on the Unreal Engine side, because that way there's a team that continues to work on the Hedgehog engine, making the new stuff, while since Sega wants to learn other engines, you have a team be like, all right, we want you guys to start learning Unreal Engine. Instead of making you guys do something from scratch, how about you make something that's old, where you have everything laid out for you essentially, and you just have to work on, you know, rebuilding everything and making all the physics and all that stuff. But you know what the foundation is. At least you're not working with a blank spot. You've got the blueprint. You just have to initiate it and change a lot of things. I'm obviously boiling down development to something much simpler, but you know what I mean. It's gonna be a big task, but at the very least they'll have something to work with. And I think that's a really important thing, right? Is having a base of work when you're learning something new is really important, right? And having them use Unreal Engine for remakes makes sense. And even spin-offs, right? If they're saying that Sega wants to do Sonic games in Unreal Engine, I don't think it's limited to remakes. I think this could be where you get something like a new Riders game, right? We've seen how crazy people can get with Riders remakes and mods and stuff online. So the idea of Sega working on a new Riders game has big potential. Maybe another party game, maybe another sports game. Who knows? I mean, we talked recently about what Sonic genres I'd like to see, but I think this is a big deal, right? We've wanted Sonic remakes for a long time. In fact, Sonic is one of the few franchises where there's like zero remakes of 3D games. There's not a single 3D game that's been remade. There's been enhanced ports, right? Technically with Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle back in the day, but it's not the same as a full remake. And like they said, I mean, Persona 3 Reload's success cannot be understated. We've had the Yakuza games getting remakes with Kiwami, stuff like that. So Sega has seen success with remakes. They've even done it with Monkey Ball. I think it's time to give Sonic that, especially when I feel like it's the series that needs it the most. These games are so beloved, but you go back to them, you're like, all right, these are a product of the time. They got the style, they got everything, but they could be better and they could be modern. And I hope we get a lead up, you know, give me Heroes, let that thrive, and then be like, fuck it, we're doing Adventure 1 and 2, which would be huge. Then you could go further and further down the line, right? But I don't want them to jump all over the place with the remakes. I don't want it to be like, oh, let's remake Unleash it, then we'll remake Adventure 1, then we'll remake this. Like, let's do things streamlined. Let's make it make sense. Let's pull it all together and all that jazz. But I want you guys to let me know what excites you most about this. Do you want a Heroes remake? Would you rather they do the adventure games? Let me know down below, of course. And of course, I love you guys. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.